What's up, guys? Higgins in Japan here with another edition of the Friday video. The Friday video is a video that I make right here in my car on the way home from work on a Friday. And once again, those things are all true and factual for once. I believe last week's video was actually shot on Friday as well. So, hey, you're welcome. The things that I do for my viewing audience, all four of you. Hey, quick note. If you are interested in supporting this channel, I don't have a Patreon. I don't make money off of YouTube. And so if you want a cool shirt or a cool mug, there's a link in the description. And if you type in the word Friday vid, all one word, you'll get 20% off your order. Because I'm feeling so nice and generous, and it's Golden Week. It's coming up on Golden Week, and I figured, hey, let me be nice for once. But anywho, this week's topic is something that I kind of threw out on Twitter the other day, and because I kind of wanted to see if I could get, it wasn't like I'm going to see if I can get a response with this one. It's like, I'm going to see if I can see if other people will respond to this and see what other people are thinking about this topic. And if you follow me on Twitter, maybe you know what this week's topic is going to be about already. And the topic is, as an ALT, you're more than likely going to be eating lunch with your students. And so I put out on the, I put out on the Twitterverse, hey, I don't want to eat with students anymore. And part of that was me just trying to kind of get a reaction, I guess. But also, yeah, I kind of am currently under the opinion that eating with students is not really that beneficial in the scheme of things. And my reasoning behind that is this. I think, and I guess I should clarify, I'm a big proponent of ALTs getting out of the classroom and not always just sitting around and not interacting with students. Believe me, I've talked about it at great length and written about it at length about how I think you should find ways to interact with students. So you might be asking yourself, well, can't you do that at lunch? Isn't that what you could do at lunch? Like, you literally are just saying you should be interacting with your students more, and then you're literally like saying, except unless you have to eat lunch with them. Like, I know how that sounds. It sounds really stupid. But I think a couple reasons behind it are, the first, sometimes you just want to eat lunch by yourself, right? Sometimes you just want to eat lunch in peace and quiet, right? And not necessarily eating in the teacher's office is going to give you peace and quiet, but, you know, it gets you away from the students, right? Sometimes you need that. There's nothing wrong with that. Doesn't make you a bad teacher. Doesn't make you a horrible person that says sometimes I just want to kind of not have to worry about some kid shoving their hand in my food or sneezing on my food or pulling my tray out of my hand going, oh, what did you get to lunch today? Like, it's the same thing you're eating, kid. You know, and like I said, I'm kind of torn on the issue because I go back and forth on it, and I've kind of gone back and forth on it all week in my head thinking about making this video of like, I don't see the benefit. I understand that in a perfect world, that you would be having these just amazing English conversations with your students, and lunch is just this perfect time for you to, you know, have these conversations, and everybody's just speaking in English, and fireworks are going off, and the American flag's waving in the background. But like, that perfect scenario honestly doesn't exist. And more than often what happens is, in my case, in history, in my history of going, you show up at the classroom, they've forgotten that you were supposed to be there, and they've either, one, already started eating, or they are nowhere near ready to even begin serving lunch. You go in, and your teacher that you're eating with that day has zero concept of time management, and so her class has gone over by 15 minutes, and she's not even ready to serve lunch to her students yet. And by the time that they get ready, you're just sitting at the front of the classroom as your food just gets colder and colder. And then she decides, oh, now you have to decide where you're going to eat lunch at. And they more than likely will put you at a table with the world's smallest chair, a child's chair, a chair meant for a child, and then they'll go, haha, look at it, the chair is so small, and you're so big, haha, and you're like, yeah, it's real great, while you get to sit at your desk and eat lunch, like a normal human being, and that's usually what happens at lunch. Or you get put at a lunch table, like a group of students, and they give you, you know, your tiny little chair, and then they don't actually give you your own desk to use. Like, there's usually extra desks in the classroom. They don't even give you an extra desk. They're just like, hey, what I want you to do is to take your tray and balance it in between two desks that are uneven, and I want you to eat your lunch that way. And it's just like, why? Like, why is that a thing? Like, I did work at a school years ago that actually, like, they had Andrew's chair, and it was like one student came and got Andrew, one student got Andrew's chair, and they just moved it from classroom to classroom. I mean, it was a very small very small school, so, you know, they could kind of get away with it. Nowadays, like, I have giant schools, and so I understand that, but yeah, it was just like, oh, this is Andrew's chair, and it was like a normal human-sized chair. It wasn't one of these, like, chairs meant for a 4-year-old Japanese child. It was meant for a human to sit in, and so that's the chair that I got, and eating lunch with students was fine. But again, it was that school, or at that time, yeah, I got my own chair, but they also served my lunch with the other teachers in the teacher's office, and so what would happen is they would dish out my food half an hour before the students ate, or before the students' time was supposed to start to eat. But when the bell went off for them to start lunch, that was just like, hey, let's start lunch. So it was another half hour before they finally got around to, like, dishing out their own food. So again, your food sits out for an hour, and it's like, why? So I can eat lunch with the students. Like, I don't see in a perfect world, like I said, you would be having great conversations with your students. And yes, you can have great conversations with your students at lunch. It happens from time to time. But I would say more often than not, and especially in junior high, those kids, they just want to talk to their friends, and as cool as an English teacher you might be, or as cool as an English teacher you think you might be, they kind of just want to talk to their friends, and they don't want to have much of a conversation with you. That's just teenagers. That's just if you can understand them better than I can, then I don't know, but that's just teenagers, right? They just kind of sometimes don't want to talk to you, and that's just their thing. So yeah, in a perfect world, I understand, and like in a cynical world, I could sit here and go like, well, it was probably some principal 30 years ago that wanted to have the foreign guy eat with the Japanese students so he could show them that, oh, he can use chopsticks too, and he can eat Japanese food just like us. Like, yeah, I could be cynical and say that that's the reason behind it, and because you can't ever change anything in Japan, it's just continued down this path. But that's just me being cynical. I guess the question is, if you are a teacher now, or have been a teacher, do you see the benefit in eating with students? Do you understand where I'm coming from? Maybe if you're not an English teacher, the whole idea of like eating with students sounds exciting. And like I said, it totally can be. And it totally has been at times. But I think more often than not, and the more I do it, the more I'm just like, can I just eat hot food and sit at my desk and you know, I have other ways that I can interact with students and other things that I can do. Like, lunch is not one of those things that I want to do. So that's just me. That's just my opinion. I actually have to run into 7-Eleven here and pay a couple of bills before I leave for vacation. And so, it's Golden Week next week, and so I will be headed out of town. So if you're interested in following what I'm doing, I don't know if I'll be making any videos, but I'll definitely be uploading stuff on Twitter and Instagram, so make sure you follow all of that good stuff. And if you have any questions or comments, head over to facebook.com/Higgins in Japan. You can send me a message there. You can send me a message on Twitter if you want. If you want it to be a public comment, leave a comment at the bottom. And that's going to do it. Have a good one, guys. Peace.